When Dr. Freddy asked me whether I could come here, I didn't hesitate because I thought that what he was doing was something which really we needed, like a Bible, I would say, not just a reference book, but to go back down history lane and to know things as they were set out, as they happened before. In his book, which we are about to have it released now, since he gave a copy to me so I could peruse it, he's brought out a bird's eye view with some in-depth facts of what has happened since liberation of Goa till 1994. The opinions of people, the differences between certain politicians and members of political parties, the political machinations which went in the background, the resolutions or the non-resolutions. And I would definitely say, I would recommend this book to the politicians of today because it is, and students, because it is worthwhile knowing how things came post-liberation and evolved over 2 phases. Because this book has come out first, not just after liberation because we were Union territory, but the second part of the book deals with post-statehood. And I'll be honest with you, I love reading books. And there's another thing, I love to smell the books when I read them. I don't know if many of you have that. So whenever I start reading a book, I don't stop till I finish till the last. But let me confess, Dr. Freddy, I could not finish. Not because I didn't have that time or space, but I thought many things had to be reread, marked, and remembered, and they would be worthwhile to be carried forward, not just in our daily lives, but for future references. And you know how Dan Brown has brought his suspense books from Da Vinci Code or Angels and Demons. You feel when you're finishing one chapter, you're moving into the next chapter, you're already into the next chapter. And this is the way I was reading this book and trying to finish it as fast as possible. But the artistic flavor of the Brazilian writer Paulo Coelho, also which holds you to read non-stop, was also not holding me back, but not giving me full time to do justice. It requires a lot of guts to write. And Dr. Freddy has been frank to admit one thing or to disclose one thing, that when he embarked on the journey to write this book, Namrata's father had given him a word of caution. Write about the British cabinet system. Don't write about Goa because people are still alive and then you may have some repercussions. But still he took on the challenge, and with his help and help of many others whom he has named and thanked, he has managed to bring out this wonderful book. When we were small, we read many things in the newspapers. There was no TV at that time. And I'm being frank, please don't take it otherwise. We used to get all the English newspapers. And my father made it a point that we should also get one Marathi newspaper so we could learn Marathi. So we would read all so that we would try to find out now what is the truth. Because one newspaper would sometimes we would say was the government's version. The other one would always play another card, and the third one was like an opposition. Sometimes you would get news in one but not in the other. And sometimes you'd get a very moderate view of things. So unless we had a balanced view, and we had time in the world that time to read all the 3 newspapers. So we would read this saucy news of various newspapers. But what I want to mention one thing is, with great respect to my colleagues, the quality of legislators has declined tremendously. The type of debates we would hear, the type of issues which would be raised, the fiery manner of putting it's not just for the sake of drawing attention or to get some TRPS today, as you say it, that you could learn. Today, sometimes even when I sit in court, sometimes if some argument is not very good, I think better to walk out than forget what we know. It's like that. So, with all respect to my legislators, my colleagues, I think that sometimes good debates are being missed out in our legislative assembly and also in the parliament. Some legislators have the art of expressing with humor. Some legislators have the wit in which they can, in very few words, convey a lot of thought. Some can be very stoic, can be very straightforward, but some think that they should give very long speeches, which can be boring. You lose the plot, and finally no one knows what you have said. And when we were in class, we have a power of concentration. If within that time that lecture is not delivered, beyond that time we start losing focus and our mind wanders off. This happens. There is no research being done today, even in our legislative assembly, before we raise issues. And sometimes it is just speech for the sake of giving speech. Sometimes I suspect that some members do speak to cut us off from the opposition from speaking. Do you understand what I mean on that? That means they talk ad nauseum, so that the time is over, they look at the watch, and the bell is rung, and they say, all right, next question now. And so we are out. So we don't get a chance to speak. Dr. Freddy has brought out, not just as a research scholar, but true journalistic instincts. And I would say, Dr. Freddy, Alessandro, and all the other colleagues of yours who are here today, please forgive me for saying it, but today the journalistic standards also have come down. If you see those days, journalists ask very, very pertinent questions. They asked you sometimes directly, and if an answer was not given directly, they knew how to ask what in parliamentary phrase we say, supplementaries. And by asking that, they knew how to go around and try to get things out from the person whom they wanted the answers. Of course, some were clever, like Louisine, who would sometimes never give a straight answer. I will give you one small example of Louisine. Forgive me, Louisine. When Louisine won an election once fighting against Churchill Alemão, I was along with him campaigning and going here and there and doing all the law work. And then suddenly, Louisine went to Bombay to bring Aishwarya Rai. You may remember that, and she came here. And many people began telling me, Arey, Louisine is patching up with Churchill. Do you know anything about it? I said, I don't know. Because what do you feel? Now see, as a simple person I was no politician. I was just a lawyer. And I said, if Louisine patches up, his supporters will get angry. If he doesn't, God knows what may happen. Maybe Churchill and his people will get upset. And suddenly next day in the URL I see that Louisine makes a statement when asked by the press. He said this. They asked him, are you making friends or what? He says, if you can't make friends, don't make enemies. I never forgot that sentence. So, when I paid attention to assembly proceedings, I remember that there was headlines, that there was commotion in one assembly. If I'm not missing Pratap Singh Rani's, they were trying to bring it down. And they said the chair was flung or the chair was broken, something like that. I can't remember, but something happened. But then I realized that when I entered this august house, my chair was screwed. I can't even push it forward. It is just screwed. Everyone's chair is screwed. Dr. Freddy has brought out this revised and updated third edition of the book, has painstakingly compiled the data with thorough research using his words. Through 5 years of arduous library research by scanning through every available relevant page of English newspapers, magazines and legislative debates over a 31-year period from 1963 to 94. Secondary sources and interviews with important and available personalities, and of course biographies, books on Goa, and books related to disciplines of history and political science. This book also not only gives an introduction to a layman as to the cabinet system, Also exploring the various parliamentary terms. There are many people who are not aware of certain parliamentary terms which we use. And also something very important about the various conquistas, the old conquests, and the novice conquistas, the new conquests, because it has a great importance on polity and political structuring, which I think we all need to examine always in the days ahead, how things shape up. From post-liberation up to statehood, and statehood up to 94, traversing over 14 chapters, this book is a treasure for all truly and genuinely interested about Goa, as also giving suggestions towards a better quality and a future for Goa. At one point of time, I thought of reading your page 508. Don't forget that, page 508. He has given a lot of suggestions for Goa. But since the book is about to be released, please read it after it is released. I thank you all for your patient listening, and Dr. Freddy for having invited me for this book launch, and to say, not so few words, congratulations on your book. A happy birthday, Dr. Freddy.